When God's perfect plans are hard to see and struggles surface everywhere, we lay our lives before His sovereignty and pray His peace would find us there. Jesus, Lord of peace, is with us now and will forever be our share.
Hi everyone, it's lovely to be back with you after a few weeks' break to bring you another reflection from Raglan Baptist Church. We holidayed in mid-Wales, where actually we saw lots of sheep. Sheep featured in my daily life in that holiday much more than they normally do. And as we walked the mountain paths, we could see lambs at heel of their ewes in all kinds of settings. And I was fascinated at the evidence in the landscape, walls that demarcate boundaries and provide pens to usher the animals into, pens that were there for their safety or to enable their care. Truth to tell, I didn't see an actual shepherd, but I was led to reflect on the importance of rearing sheep. Reflecting on things too about the shepherd's role, and in particular, my thoughts went to Psalm 23. Now you'll probably know this psalm. It's often read at weddings and funerals, and many people find it of great comfort, particularly when they experience troublesome times. In Psalm 23, the writer says this: "The Lord is my shepherd. He gives me everything I need. He lets me lie down in fields of green grass. He leads me beside quiet waters. He gives me new strength, and He guides me in the right paths for the honour of His name. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid. You are with me. Your shepherd's rod and staff comfort me. You prepare a feast for me, right in front of my enemies. You pour oil on my head, and my cup runs over. I am sure that your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever." These days, we're really not that familiar, are we, with the work of the shepherd? But when the psalmist was writing all those thousands of years ago, the ways of the shepherd and the ways of sheep were familiar to all. They were the stuff of everyday life. And everyone knew that the shepherd was the one who pastured the flock. The shepherd led them in the right way when they had to move, and also fended off predators. They had responsibility and accountability for the safety of the sheep that they had in their care. And so what we have here in this psalm is a writing that's talking about trust and confidence in God. It's a trust that's very like the sheep had in the shepherd who looked after them. So what can we find out about trust and confidence in God from the psalm? Well, I suppose the headline, the keynote, is sufficiency. The psalmist is telling us that God is providing us with everything that we need. Everything that we need. And sometimes that provision is plentiful and pleasant. And so we get those lovely images of lush green fields and tinkling streams. And we feel that the psalmist gets a new confidence in God through the new strength that he finds and following the paths that God sets before him. However, before we run away that this is like cloud cuckoo land, the writer doesn't pretend that everything is always lovely. He also writes about challenging and dark times. And even today, we often describe times of sadness and depression, of being like walking in a valley. And these times are part of the ups and downs of life. We all experience them. But we find that the psalmist still retains his confidence in God. And he finds security in the instruments the shepherd carries. They're not instruments of punishment, they're instruments to guide, the rod and the staff. Then we find there's a hope for the future, a hope of something better to come. There's a joy which is symbolised by the feasting and being anointed with oil, not something we do these days. But above all, there is a certainty that the goodness and the love of God will always be there. And there is that ultimate promise of living in the house of the Lord. No wonder people find comfort from this psalm. Whilst we might find that psalm really comforting, I wonder if there's another sense that it's a bit difficult to make sense of in today's world. I wonder if there's a way in which it might really seem a bit controlling, like the shepherd takes all the decisions and the sheep, well, they just follow along meekly. And frankly, that's not what we're used to these days, are we? We are used to being in control. And we live in times when not only do we make the decisions for ourselves, lots of our experiences in life can be personalised to suit us at the touch of a button. And so maybe this idea of the shepherd is a bit at odds to everyday life and how we would like it to be in the 21st century. But let's think about that a bit more. I wonder too if personalisation is always what it appears to be. I wonder how many of us have communications that pop into our inboxes or come through the post that do appear to be highly personal. But when we look at them, we can see that they're not really. They've been designed to look that way at the touch of a button on the computer. Jesus, in the New Testament, takes the concept of the shepherd to a whole new level to the one that we see in Psalm 23. I think Jesus takes it forward in a way which is clearly so much more personal, maybe so much more one that we can actually relate to in the contemporary world. In John chapter 10, Jesus talks about being the good shepherd, the one who calls the sheep by name. The shepherd who wants to give them a full and satisfying life. It strikes me that it takes someone who really knows us and cares about us in detail to help shape such a life. Jesus did care that much. He cared so much that in order to give us that full and satisfying life and a relationship with God, that he was prepared to sacrifice his own life to make that happen. Well, you may be looking at this and thinking, well, Carol, I don't really feel I need Jesus in my life. And of course, that is something that all of us need to make our minds up for ourselves. It's not for me or anybody else to pressurise somebody into a position where they accept Jesus. And it's also perfectly possible to lead a life that seems to be exceedingly good without taking any notice of God or seeking a relationship with Him. And if that's you, I just want to ask you one thing. I want to ask you if there is something even better to be had if you already have a good life. What if you're missing a trick? Here's something to think about as we finish. Not from the Bible this time, it's a reflection by someone called Francis J. Roberts. I keep it on my phone, so I'm going to read it to you from there. Many a ship has sailed from port to port with no interference from me, because strong will has been at the wheel. Multitudes of pleasure cruises go merrily on their way, untouched by the power of my hand. But you have put your life into my keeping, and because you are depending on me for guidance and directions, I shall give it. Move on steadily, and know that the waters that carry you are the waters of my love and my kindness, and I will keep you on the right course. So let's leave with that thought. What if there is an even better life to be had by choosing to invite God in? Why not give it a go and let Him do something really special in your life? I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.
The Lord is my defender, this I know. He watches over me with grace. The darkness will not overwhelm my soul, for my eternity is safe. Jesus, Lord of peace, is with us now and will forever be our shepherd king, who leads us into perfect stillness. Jesus, Lord of peace, is with us now and will forever be our shepherd king, who leads us into perfect stillness.